This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube, and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, and where you ought to be subscribing to my Twitter feed, twitter.com/GaryBaumgarten, to get all the latest news that you may or may not see or hear on the mainstream media. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. I also, by the way, encourage you to be regular readers of PaltalkNewsNetwork.com, where there's a lot of great information. We're updating it constantly. We have reporters throughout across the globe who are helping us out in getting this information that's happening around the world to you. By the way, speaking about around the world, there's a new battleship that's going to go around the world. It's going to be christened the USS New York, and it came to the New York City today. It was made from steel from the World Trade Center site following the attacks on 9/11/2001. Boys, you want to roll the video so people can see the battleship coming up the Hudson River, please? First, a flyover by military aircraft. And there she is, the USS New York. Heading for its berth at Pier 83, right next to the USS Intrepid. The museum. And when it's pulled across from the World Trade Center site, it stopped and gave a 21-gun salute. Very emotional moment for many of the family members and the people who responded to September 11th, 2001, as they lined the banks to salute back to the USS New York. Quite the sight. It'll be in port until Thursday. There will be public opportunities to board her and tour her, and then she heads back out to be christened and commissioned. So interesting that the latest article right now on PaltalkNewsNetwork.com is about how the Justice Department, the United States Justice Department, will be monitoring elections in a number of states tomorrow to ensure that there is compliance with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Perhaps it would have been great if the Justice Department had monitored the election in Afghanistan. As we all know, the election had questionable results, and the incumbent president, Mr. Karzai, declared himself a winner, but there was so much pressure put on based on the fact that they found so much fraud in that election that he reluctantly agreed to a runoff election against the runner-up, Abdullah Abdullah, who yesterday or early this morning declared that he was not going to run in the runoff election because he felt that it would be no less corrupt than the election was. And the election commission there in Afghanistan, which is under the control of Mr. Karzai, immediately declared Karzai the winner once again. Now, you would think that perhaps, and I do, that the President of the United States would use this as an opportunity to withdraw or largely reduce the number of troops in Afghanistan, because the mission has changed over the years, hasn't it? From the declared mission of going after Osama bin Laden and the other fellers who created such havoc in the United States with the terrible mass murder that we call the terrorist attacks of September the 11th, 2001, to supporting this government that was put into place after we overthrew the Taliban. Well, that's not what we went in there for, and this is not a legitimate government. And I don't see much difference, frankly, between this government and the government that claims to be legitimately running the Islamic Republic of Iran. I see no difference whatsoever, because it was a corrupt election that put both Ahmadinejad and Karzai into power. Now, even General Stanley McChrystal, who says in order to complete the mission of putting down the insurgency in Afghanistan, that he only feels that it can be successful if there's a legitimate and not corrupt government in place. Well, this is an illegitimate and very corrupt government. And don't think that there isn't trouble in Washington, how we contribute to this, we being the American people by extension. Because the brother of Karzai is on the CIA payroll, and his brother is reputed to be the second biggest narco trafficker in Afghanistan, where 95% of the poppies used for producing heroin are grown. And as we know, the heroin trade is used to fund the very terrorism that the CIA is supposed to be protecting us from. So what happens when it became clear that Abdullah was probably going to withdraw? Well, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton signaled the intent of the administration to support Karzai when that happened. And in fact, only hours after he was declared the ruler of Afghanistan, which is a joke in itself because all he really controls is Kabul, and not very well at that, President Obama called him to congratulate him, as if this were an election that was monitored by the Justice Department, such as we have in the United States, which is relatively fair and unblemished. I said relatively fair and unblemished. Alan J.C., what is our real aim there in Afghanistan? It's obvious that this administration wants to remain there regardless of the process that keeps Mr. Karzai in power.
Yeah, hello, Gary, and hello, everyone. Yeah.